What's up, everybody? Welcome to Recruiting Masters Podcast, episode 17, brought to you by the CFC Insider. I'm Katie Burt, content manager for CanadaFootballChat.com, alongside Clint, lead analyst and head of the CFC Scouting Bureau and former U Sport head coach. Before we get started, don't forget to sign up for your exclusive CFC Insider membership today. Just hit the subscribe button on CanadaFootballChat.com for access to rankings, analysis, and daily football recruiting news across Canada. Clint, my friend, so our inaugural CFC Prospect Game has come and gone, and we're all kind of suffering a bit of, I'm not really sure what happened there. How's it going?
Good. Yep, the game came and it went. It was one of the, it went off pretty well, I would say, for the most part. There wasn't, I would say the talent was kind of where we thought it would be, which was extremely high. But it was also aided by the fact that TSN did a great job once we were in the stadium. Also, all of the coaches, there was a handful of U Sports coaches and some former CFL personalities and some other individuals who were on the coaching staffs. I think the coaching staff is probably one of the things that really made it kind of click and work so well. So, I mean, all in all, and then our host, which is the University of Ottawa football GGs, Coach Parisi and his staff went well out of their way.
They were fantastic.
And actually made it an outstanding experience for all the prospects and their parents. So they went above and beyond. That's how I'd probably categorize that. And then, just once again, the coaches were awesome. And then once we were in the stadium, TSN was awesome. And, we got really fortunate that there was a uber competitive game, which we're going to talk about. And even more awesome is that all those kids got to play on TV and celebrate their big plays, and there was no injuries.
So today, as you alluded to, we're going to talk about the game, do a bit of a recap of how it went, the CFC Prospect game in Ottawa that took place on Saturday. And then we're also going to go over the MVPs and some honorable mentions that stuck out during that game. All of the talent was fantastic. There's a reason they were all picked to be on those rosters. So truly, any of those players we could talk about with their performance, because they all really did live up to their expectation. And then we're going to finish off with Offer That Guy, the segment that we think that they should be getting a little bit more love from all recruiters, both here in Canada and south of the border. So be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter @ChatFootball, Instagram CFC_football, and YouTube. You can hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel so that we can increase the features that come with increased subscriptions. So let's talk about this game, Clint. We had our two head coaches, Henry Burris and Matt Dunnigan was the other head coach. So Team Burris was black and Dunnigan was in the white jerseys. Burris came out on top with a 41-24 score. The first quarter, at any game, it kind of takes a little bit for the kids to work out their nerves. How do you think it went?
I think it was very much that. There was a couple of turnovers early in the game. I think for the most part, because of how we tempoed the practices and how we kind of really controlled the practices, there wasn't a lot of uber full speed periods. So I think the offensive players, more specifically the quarterbacks, didn't see things going full speed until they were in the game. And I think if you're a quarterback, no matter what level you come from, once you kind of get pushed into that game format, there wasn't I don't think there was a single defensive back or a Sam or a nickel linebacker, whatever you want to call it, who was in the game that didn't run like a sub 4.8 laser time. So it's like those kids in that back end could all run. And that kind of led to some one or two picks, which were the quarterback just trying to force the ball, or it was a case of the defensive player just making an outstanding play. And you got to remember that every single one of those football players, like I said, was a sub 4.8 kid who's a playmaker. So there was some turnovers early. Kind of the quarter was highlighted by Krushelnicki's interception on the first play from scrimmage.
That kind of set the tone for the rest of the game for sure.
Austin West also had a big pick he took down the sidelines. Other than that, Callum Wither in the offense marched the ball down, and Buckwitz, because he's and he is 6'3", 225 pounds. He just is impossible to take down. And when he was making an effort to cross that goal line, he put the ball on the ground. Probably because, like I said, there was a lot of really good defenders.
Yeah.
But ball security, Logan. Anyways, Team Dunnigan got their first of, we'll call them, very friendly touchdowns. As he put the ball on the ground, there was 4 Dunnigan players around, and for whatever reason, Sonny Bermuda Chavez kind of popped in there, recovered the fumble on the 1-yard line, and had a 1-yard rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the highlights of the first quarter for me.
And that brought it to 6-10 after the first quarter. The second quarter score was 12 for the Team Burris and 24 for Team Dunnigan. They exchanged field position here. And again, turnovers played a huge role throughout the game, but specifically in the second and fourth quarter.
Yeah, turnovers were part of it. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact of just the speed of the game as well. There was a couple times where there was the odd bad snap or something along that lines, which is usually the result of everybody around is just faster, or the snapper, whoever it is, and I'm talking center, and on the occasion the long snapper, there's maybe a little stress being on TV or haven't done a lot of snapping in pads, because we are basically, in spring camp for a lot of these kids to play this game. So there was a couple of those kinds of plays, and it kind of led to a quarter that was back and forth. Team Dunnigan got a couple of short fields and really took advantage of that. Nathan Falcone made an outstanding catch in the corner.
Yeah.
There was a couple of other big plays that kind of allowed Team Dunnigan to really jump out. And at that point, watching the game from the sidelines, in between the benches, trying to make sure the coaches followed the rules, I kind of got a feel that I was like, oh no, hopefully Dunnigan doesn't pull too far ahead. Because as a game coordinator, you want that on TSN. You want it to stay competitive, right? So. Well,
and Team Dunnigan, they were really feeling pretty good about themselves. They had a couple really good rehearsed celebration.
Bowling pins.
Yeah, bowling and the canoe.
Rowing the canoe down the stream. Super Mario brother.
Super Mario, yeah.
Yeah, jumping on the upright. I think Colby Herford jumped on it and pretended he was like on a bucking bronco.
Coming from Alberta, that fits.
Yeah, some of those kids, they had a lot of fun with it,
yeah.
which is totally understandable. And that 24-12 halftime score was basically aided by those critical turnovers and super short fields. And I'll give the credit to the Dunnigan defense. They actually had a long interception return, and they also forced a fumble that Javon Blake ran down the sidelines and put them in really, really good field position.
And if there wasn't that, if he hadn't stepped out of bounds there, he would have gone.
Nobody was touching him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was what took us into halftime.
And so then the second half for the third quarter, it was pretty close for the most part. It was 25-24 for Team Burris. But here we see the shift, and the run game really took over for Team Burris.
Yeah, that's where I like Ishi Mantaga and Matt Moran, more Ishi in the third quarter. They started to they kind of got into a 2-back set. Basically, it was a 1-back set with an extra offensive lineman on the field playing fullback. Just because there was only 2 running backs on that team. It's something I think we'll actually focus on next year.
Yeah.
Where there's just 2 backs on each team. Yeah. Ishi had a number of really good runs. Matt Moran, the third quarter, ran hard, didn't get a lot out of his runs, but ran hard and probably made just about as much as he could.
Yeah.
Because as you move on in football and play at a higher level, people, I think they lose track of the fact that a 4-yard run is a pretty dynamic thing when you have a defense that's completely swarming, and you got to keep in perspective that the 3 of the 5 starters on the team Burris offensive line are in grade 10. Now they all average 6'3", 6'4", 295 pounds, so they're not little kids, but they're also in grade 10. So they kind of started leaning on people, and I think that started to really turn the game. Because there was a series of longer run plays. And when I say long in a competitive game, I'm talking 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 yards. We're not talking about, you ran around the corner and got the edge on a super slow small team and had an 80-yarder. But they really took control of the time of possession, and they started pounding the rock.
Yeah.
And their defense, like I said, came up with some pretty critical turnovers in that third quarter. And they did have some issues. The center did, snapping the ball to the quarterback. And I think that was in result to Mitchell Price and Natali Frangioni as two on that interior of the defensive line for Coach Burris. I mean, obviously everybody's had possibly the opportunity to watch the TV copy, but if you watch Natali Frangioni, his get off is literally
it's incredible.
It's a half second ahead of everyone else on the D line. He's actually getting off when the ball comes up. He almost looks offside, but he's not offside. So I mean,
so quick.
Oh yeah, and Natali's a powerhouse too. So I mean, I know he's 6 feet tall, or maybe he's my height. But anyways, and that was kind of a result too of why some of those turnovers happened, and that kind of took us to our really tight football game. It was a 1-point game for most of the third.
Yeah, and then in the fourth quarter, they started to pull away again. Speaking to those critical turnovers, and that was really the deciding factor. There were 29 unanswered points for that second half.
Yeah, 29 unanswered points, which I mean, I wasn't really tracking it that close. But then when you look at the board, you're like, well. But I mean, you also have to factor in let's take a look at Sonny Bermudez Chavez touchdown in the first half. So that's 7 they got, and Smiling Hank's team was a little fortunate then. In the fourth quarter, Javon Blake drove on a in-breaking route and very well could have picked it off on his own goal line. And if you watch the tight, you'll see that if he had picked it off, he would have had the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I'm not bagging on Javon but actually that kind of ricocheted or bounced off his hand. He didn't catch it, and it ricocheted in the air. And Logan Buckwitz, who was basically running a route to complement the one in front of him, was just basically
in the right place at the
right place, right time.
Yeah.
And he probably was like, well, this will be my easiest touchdown on TV.
Yeah.
For now.
What did they call him? Baby Gronk?
He's Baby Gronk. And I know on the TV version they had the 6 foot 225.
Some of the heights and weights were incorrect.
There was 3.
You know, we apologize for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, Logan is every bit of I've seen him, and you can safely call him Baby Gronk, and whether he's 6'3" or even a touch taller now, he has a ridiculously thick lower half and is incredibly athletic. So I mean. Yeah, so Baby Gronk got a touchdown, and then it was just a series of, 1 or 2 more turnovers. The defense took advantage of it.
Yeah, Taryn Brady got a really key interception right near the end there as well.
Yeah, and you know what? Brady did a really good job. They were playing some sort of cut coverage or cover 3, whatever cut coverage to that side of the field, and he actually did a really good job for a corner. He fell off the short route and kind of fell under the corner and made a really spectacular pick. And then wasn't afraid to attack the sideline TV camera crew to express his excitement over the play. So, and that kind of took us towards the end. There was a late touchdown by Matt Moran where you could tell that front for Dunnigan was getting tired.
Yeah. And
the Burris, the O-line for that, as much as when we were giving up, we're going to talk about it, I think it needs to be credited to that young offensive line that had 3 grade 10s. They really started leaning on him at the end. Mm-hmm. And those 4-yard gains and 5-yard gains started becoming 12 and 15-yard gains.
Yeah.
And eventually resulted in Moran just taking one right up the middle. And that was the last score of the game. Mm-hmm. That was the TSN turning point.
Overall, though, it was a fantastic game. It was exciting to watch. There was lots of back and forth, like you said, and on the defensive side of the ball, the tackles were fantastic. I mean, we're going to talk about him. Nathan Karabatsakis was basically, I think he tackled every single player on the team at some point. Yeah. So it was really fantastic to watch. And if you get a chance, if you taped it or just PVR'd it, watching it over and over, I think I've watched it 4 times. It doesn't get boring. It was a great game.
Yep. I was happy with the end. The only thing that kind of popped out at the end is, next year maybe we can clean up a bit of the turnovers. But, there wasn't a kid on the field who should not have been there. Yeah. And, every one of those kids, you could tell when there was plays made, just the amount, like the acceleration and the get up and jump from everybody. Like
they all raise the level of competition.
But you could see the speed, like the speed on the field. That would probably be one of that would be, as far as things go in Canada, that's probably the fastest in terms of team speed on the field high school game I've ever seen in like my 25 years.
If you want to listen to the rest of the Recruiting Masters podcast, become a CFC Insider member today for exclusive access to rankings, analysis, and daily football recruiting news from across Canada. Head over to CanadaFootballChat.com to sign up now.